Hostem květnového speciálu vítězného portfolia je Dan Fredrikson, portfolio manažer společnosti Alfred Berg, patřící do skupiny BNP Paribas Asset Management. Řeč bude o nordických burzách, respektive o zajímavých akcích obchodovaných v severských zemích. Dan, hello and welcome.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's dive right into our theme, and that is Nordic stocks in general. So, first question for a global investor or global portfolio: why Nordic stocks? How should we perceive this realm, if you will?
Well, I would say that the Nordics might be seen as a small market, of course, but it's a couple of different countries, all with different looks, etc. But we have a couple of things in common. We have, so to say, the Nordic model, one thing. We have free education. We have also quite a lot of help from the state in all the 4 different countries. We have a pension system well built, etc. It's called the Nordic model, and a good thing to have.
As you've mentioned, the countries are similar yet different in a sense, right? So let's just briefly tackle each separately and talk about specificities from the investor's perspective. Is it, the first glance would be Sweden, it's the big industrials, Denmark, services, healthcare and stuff like that. Is the second glance the same, or as a specialist, do you see something different, slightly different?
I would totally agree with you. If you look at Norway, you of course have the oil, gas. That's a different thing than we have in the other Nordics. But then you have the, I touched on it earlier here, you have the educational side. And as a small cap portfolio manager, innovation is one of my drivers. And we have, in a couple of studies, the Nordics come out very well in these. We're among the top 20 countries with regards to innovation. I believe Sweden, Denmark and Finland are among the top 10 globally. So that's another thing in common for the Nordics.
Let's look at your portfolio in particular then. Give us a concrete example how unique, in a sense, the Nordics are. One company in particular you like, you trust, you have in your portfolio, and could be provided as a case study, as an example of what is it all about.
I have, as an example, a medtech company called Bonesupport. When you break your leg, a severe break of your leg, you need to replace the bone. You often use the bone from your hip. You have to do surgery there. This is a replacement of human bone, a composite that they use, the company, which also consists of a inflammation reducer. And back in, I believe it was October 22, they got their first approval from FDA in the US for selling the Cerament G, as the product is called. 2 months ago, they also got approval from FDA with regards to spinal operation. And lastly here, 2 weeks ago, they received a confirmation and approval for also treating trauma patients. That's when you have the severe bone breakage.
Right. Can you tell us a bit more about how you actually assemble the portfolio? What's the logic behind? How do you look around for your winners on each of the markets, essentially?
I would say, as an answer to that we're looking for innovative companies, of course, as I've mentioned before. We're also looking for companies that grow, which during the last 3 years has been quite difficult. If you, for instance, look at the healthcare sector with a lot of, there are a couple of small mid-caps there also, with studies, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 studies being performed. But during the lockdown, everything was stopped, so to speak. So they had to postpone their launch, eventual launch, and deliveries to the medical authorities by 12 to 18 months. So that's one aspect of the whole thing. But this is now changed. It's open now. And there's a couple of items to be speeded up again, to be picked up. So I feel quite comfortable here with hopefully lower interest rates and a system that will start working again without lockdowns, without disturbances from whatever, and hopefully no geopolitical eventual crisis further.
Where do you see the future of the Nordic economies and companies, the successful companies? Because the whole world right now is in a sort of a transformation, right? The supply chains are shortening. You have the redirection of supply or supply channels and demand channels. So to what extent is it going to change the Nordics as well?
I believe that we're going to see, or we might see, more production being taken home, expertise where you are, maybe not produce elsewhere as much as you did for a decade ago. And I also see that the Nordics are well placed. It is a smaller market compared to the bigger ones, of course, but you have a lot of interesting sectors, a diversified sector, I would say, with a lot of good potential stocks to pick.
You've already mentioned that you focus on small caps. To the outsiders, meaning people who do not know the Nordic countries or do not live there, the Nordics are mostly about larger caps, be it Carlsberg in Denmark, Volvo in Sweden, and so on and so forth. So why small caps, or where is the major difference between small caps in your region and the large caps? Is it just the performance issue, or are there some other advantages of investing into small and, let's say, mid-sized caps in the Nordics?
Well, it is, I would say, when you have the market in the right direction. If I may say, the last 3 years with increasing interest rates, small cap hasn't been that popular. It is an under-owned asset class, underweighted, I would say. But hopefully with lower interest rates coming up here sooner or later, we're going to see hopefully the small caps start performing again. It's been, as I usually say, the last 3 years has been almost a desert walk with the sharply increasing interest rates globally.
What does it mean in particular? What could or should be expected when it comes to small, mid-sized stocks, caps in the Nordics in the next 3 to 5 years? What is it you expect or you aim for? Let me put it this way.
Well, for small caps, you should be aware that it can deviate quite a lot, and it has during the last years, I would say. I'm expecting some possibly 10%, 15% for the coming period here. I would say that with regards to where we have the interest rates, the inflation, etc., I'm feeling quite comfortable for time being here. And one thing to add also is that for the Nordics, the Norwegian crown, the Swedish crown has been and are very weak for time being, so it could be a potential good entry point here also. The Danish crown is capped to the euros, and Finland has euro already. So
right, which brings us to the sort of a macro things, let me put it this way, macro issues. Of course, you're a bottom-up kind of a guy, but to what extent do you still need to consider the macro trends? And that includes even the geopolitics you've mentioned, and is an issue that is actually becoming more and more talked about, if nothing else.
Yeah, true. Well, there isn't much you can do about that because it's geopolitics, but you can, when you see things occur, happening, you can hopefully be fast to take reaction to what is happening. And that's a main point here, an important point. And as I mentioned, I really want to stress the teamwork we have at our company here, where we're not two ears, we're actually 8 ears and eyes watching the market and listening to what's happening out there.
Is it somehow already felt that the change, let me put it this way, of the security setup, meaning some of the countries join NATO, most of the countries their relationship with Russia is much more complicated than it used to be. Did it somehow already transcribe into economy, into how things are being done when it comes to business, or is it more sort of a mental exercise, let me put it this way, for most of people? I
would agree with that. For time being, it's more of a mental exercise here. We're getting to learn more and more what will happen here in the future. But of course, if you look at specific companies like Kongsberg-gruppen, Saab, doing missiles, both of them, and aircrafts, etc., in the military sector, industrial, they have, of course, seen quite a lot of pickups in orders, etc., for time being here, with the NATO. Yeah.
What are the other issues that one should follow when he or she wants to actually somehow orient himself in what is going on in the Nordics? What are the key issues, the macro issues?
Of course, we have the weak currencies, as I mentioned. We are at, I would say, almost the bottom if you look at the historical Swedish and Norwegian crown, where they have been traded. I would also add that we have, on the other side, a stable political situation. We have establishments working, used to work with each other. I would say that's a good thing for both the economy and the countries.
Dámy a pánové, hostem květnového speciálu vítězného portfolia byl Dan Fredrikson, portfolio manažer společnosti Alfred Berg. Don, very interesting indeed. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.